On Friday evening, we became aware of an allegation against one of our co-founders, Guy Baum, aka Disrespect, Dr. Disrespect. We assumed his innocence and began speaking with parties involved. We assumed his innocence. So this is a very interesting word. So innocence is used differently in a legal context and in a colloquial context. And this is something that's very, very important, because when you're talking about a crime, innocent and guilty means, okay, are they guilty of a crime? Are they innocent of a crime? Now, criminal and civil liability are different, right? So someone might be liable civilly in a civil suit, but they might not be criminally guilty. These are two different things. But innocence, when we're just talking about innocence, when most people talk about innocence, they're usually talking about it in a moral sense, right? But because this is a corporation and because they have a contract with him, you have to be aware of both definitions, both the colloquial and the legal definition. And began speaking with the parties involved. And in order to maintain our principles and standards, this is very important language. This language right here, in order to maintain our principles and standards. So this language may be what saves them. So we're going to come back to this statement. The statement is very important. It's kind of the crux of what we're analyzing today. As a studio and as individuals, we needed to act. Now, they probably should have left this out. The and individuals, that was reckless. I would not have involved that because they're not contractually obliged as individuals with Dr. Disrespect, but as a corporation. I would not have said that. This is why, like, legal, definitely, I can see an argument legal didn't vet this, right? Which is what Mark argues. And I think that's probably correct. I wouldn't have thrown the individuals in there. We needed to act. For this reason, we are terminating our relationship with Guy Baum immediately. While these facts are difficult to hear and even more difficult to accept, it is our duty to act with dignity on behalf of all individuals involved, especially the 55 developers and families we have employed along with our community players. This part is also super reckless, right? They could have cut it here. They didn't need to say this here. So this part, unnecessary. They could have just said, we became aware of the allegations and we are terminating our relationship, right? They could have made a much, 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 much simpler statement, but they didn't. And this is where they may get into some trouble. Let me cover real quick all of the statements we have here. So this started, where I saw this start was with this statement. And this statement happened a while back, a couple days ago, which is by Cody Conners. So Cody Conners, who is a former Twitch employee, right? So Cody is the one that brought this up on Twitter. And he said he got banned because he got caught a minor in the then existing Twitch Whispers product. So Twitch had access to that and saw he was a minor, allegedly. He was trying to meet up with her at TwitchCon. The powers that could be read in plain text. Case closed, gang. And then he goes on to say, no one made the wrong decision, him and his boys. Right? Now, mind you, Cody is not presented any evidence. We have not yet seen a shred of evidence on this. So him saying case closed is not true at all. This is entirely up to be proven in a court of law. And what did I say immediately? When I saw this text, when I saw this come out, I immediately said this. This is my statement, which is still very, very, very much true, which is, this is a legal statement clearly This was a response to Dr. Disrespect, who's responding to those allegations. Dr. Disrespect said, Jake, seriously, I get it. It's a hot topic, but this has been settled. No wrongdoing was acknowledged, and they paid out the whole contract. So Dr. Disrespect had commented on, here it is once again. This is his first statement. This is the first thing that Dr. Disrespect responded on this. He's responded twice now, right? So he said, it's been settled. So meaning there was a settlement. No wrongdoing was acknowledged, which does not mean he did not do it. He could have done it or could have not done it. And the thing is, there definitely is an NDA here. Whenever you have a settlement, you 1,000,000% have an NDA. And Twitch should require its employees, including former employees, to be bound by NDAs. So Cody is likely either in violation. Cody, who posted this post. So Cody, who broke this, is likely in violation of his NDA, right, with Twitch. Or if Twitch did not have an NDA with him, Twitch is probably liable for allowing this reputational damage to get out, for allowing that breach of an NDA, right, and not having a binding NDA with Cody Conners, right? Because either Twitch should be taking action against him, or they were negligent because they're not taking action against him, right? This is a big issue. So I said right away to Dr. Disrespect's statement when he first responded to this, right off rip, I said, hey, this is as close as a confirmation that this thing happened. That doesn't mean, when I said confirmation, I did not mean that it actually happened. What I mean is that there was an incident, right? Now, let's be very clear about what could have happened here, because people always rush out to come up with the worst possible allegation, right? People run out with the most salacious, extreme interpretation. So let's be reasonable with the different interpretations here. Maybe, this person that they were talking to, and it's looking like, hey, there probably was somebody that he was talking to on the other end, right? Could it see, everybody is running with this narrative, or at least a lot of people are running with the narrative that Dr. Disrespect was knowing someone is a minor and knowingly sexting, sending illicit messages, whatever, going in and intentionally sexting this person. That's what people are running with. That's story one. But story two could be, if it's true, if this thing is true, could be that he had no idea this person was a minor, and maybe Dr. Disrespect didn't know they were a minor. Maybe he had no clue. Maybe they were sending him sexual stuff and he didn't respond. Or he responded without knowing, right? There's another explanation. Because remember, guys, especially if someone's a minor, it doesn't really matter. If you're an adult in 2024 and you receive the text message, you're already in trouble. And if you respond to it in any way, you can be in huge trouble. Just for receiving it, just for getting it on your phone, right? So if this was something that was, he's actively trying to groom a minor, I'm actually pretty confident in 2024 there would have been more behind this. There would have been more action behind this, particularly from Twitch, right? And let me tell you right now, there's many times when people can just send you nudes, right? Or just send you things. Who knows? We don't know. So there's two different explanations here. And we don't know which situation it is. And to rush and say it's one is premature. And Cody coming out and saying, yeah, there's evidence here. Well, we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen any of the DMs. We haven't seen any of this shit yet. So him saying it's case closed is not the case. Listen, I'm obviously tied to the legal obligations from the settlement with Twitch, but I just need to say what I can say since this is the internet. I didn't do anything wrong. All of this has been probed and settled. Nothing illegal. No wrongdoing was found, and I was paid. Elden Ring Monday. So he changed his statement. So before he said, no wrongdoing was acknowledged. Now they're saying no wrongdoing was found, right? So this is a change in the statement. Now, what he probably did was he probably reached out to Twitch and said, hey, I don't want to breach the NDA, but I want to say no wrongdoing was found instead of no wrongdoing was acknowledged, because there's a material difference between those two things. No wrongdoing was found means I did nothing wrong, versus acknowledged, which means I may have done nothing wrong, right? And I was paid. So meaning Twitch paid him out, right? Paid him out. And if you look at Cody Conners, it looks like this guy who added the information may have had some bad faith here, right? Cody may have had some bad faith. He said, so he put out this statement, but look here, it said, if all 3 dates sell out, I'll tell you why he got banned. He meaning Dr. Disrespect, right? And then here it says, gamer friends, if you're on the East Coast, you should come to one of my shows. Slasher is coming to a New York date. That's a 500-person room. We're 70% on pre-sale. I will always act out around Rod. If the show sells out, I'll 100 explain why we banned him during the set. Well, Mark, you've kind of tracked the cultural shift because you've been in gaming, right? But also you've been in business, right? And you've kind of tracked and been frankly, reporting on a lot of this cultural shift from the point at which maybe a Me Too allegation, there might have been some pause and some waiting before you terminate a relationship with somebody. But for better or for worse, we now have at least 5 years and maybe even 6 years of precedent of people under the guise of the morality clause, which I didn't get to this part yet. So let me show it for the audience. I'm sure you know, Mark. But morality clauses usually have statements, right? And these are sample morality clauses, right? There's a ton of them here. It's very, very standard. Oh my God, I'm not paying for shit. But the standard morality clause would state that based on the reputation and standards, right, of that business, right, they're able to terminate a contract. So you're able to terminate a business contract, business relationship based on the protection of your reputation and standards. And because we've moved the goalpost, right, because the goalpost has been moved in society and culture and even in our contractual relationships, you'd have to go back and say all of these terminations that have happened are now wrong. Right? You'd have to go back and overturn that precedent because the companies can just say, hey, look, all these other companies have done this based on their reputation standard and based in the 2024 political climate, the 2024 social climate. If there's any form of sexual allegation, it's very standard in the industry to terminate people. This is the interesting thing. So here it is, Midnight Society. This is posted 3:45 a.m. I think it's my time. For this reason, we are terminating our relationship with Guy Baum immediately.
All right. Well, termination. I mean that can mean a couple things.
Sure.
It would be unusual for him to be an employee of a satellite company like that's off his brand, right? I don't know if he was an employee or if he was taking a salary or if he was on the board of directors. He's likely a shareholder. I don't know what percentage shareholder, and depending on his role in the company and the amount of shares he has, he could have other agreements besides a standard contract. He can have, he'll have a stock purchase agreement for one thing.
Yes.
And he'll definitely have, if it's any significant role, there will be a separate contract that is custom made just for him to be on there. Like, how is he going to make money off the game? How is the money being split? And there's likely to be additional provisions there. Now, the moral thing is interesting. I have heard of that before. I did not have it in my contract. In fact, my lawyer struck things like that where they could.
Good. So, you have a good lawyer, Mark. You had a good lawyer.
The contracts are so custom that I really, I'm very curious. Is Midnight Society where is it registered? And they would list the principal owners and board of directors there. That would be interesting.
Yeah, and I haven't pulled that information yet on their like corporate background registration. It's a really good point to like for me to follow up on and do a little corporate due diligence. Of course, that takes digging and time, right? But I will get into that and I will take a look at that to follow up because that's a really good one. And I want to hammer on what you said because I agree with you, Mark. Just because you might terminate one contract, let's say a live streaming contract or something else like that, you're absolutely right that he's probably got stock agreements, investor agreements, which are likely not as easily terminated as perhaps a agreement or a relationship as an employee, right? Or other sort of engagements they may have for him to actively promote their product.
Right.
So
oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, there's no way for example, if he owns stock in Midnight Society, right? If he owns 50% stock, it's a hell of a lot harder to get him to force him to sell the stock than it is to terminate some sort of relationship with him, whether it's as an employee or as an advertiser.
I don't think this was mutual. If it was mutual, you would have seen a timed mutual release statement from both Dr. Disrespect and the company. And did you see that clip on stream where he appears to get the news of this?
Yes, I did see that. I did see that clip.
Where
yes.
his
I don't have it pulled up, but I
changes.
saw it.
Now, we don't know if he got that message right then, but I mean, the timing of it certainly seems that way. To be informed unilaterally like that, that's pretty ballsy. I mean, this studio is, like you said, entwined with Dr. Disrespect, and I think that because of the nature of how the brand is identified with him, that's where I think that they're legally dicey for saying some of the things they did. And I think you're right that last paragraph there is I would have never gone with something like that.
And okay. I'm with you, Mark. It's reckless, right? It's reckless. Certainly, this was absolutely reckless. But you could say, okay, reckless doesn't always necessarily equal they're going to get sued. And who I think is in bigger trouble, which is Cody Conners, right? And this is the last statement. I've covered some other stuff Cody said, but this is the last relevant thing he said on this, which is, that said, I'm the least sued I've ever been. Guys, lawyers work weekends. I don't think they had a few things they needed to get to before they circled back to this. Right. I'm just a little irked at Jake, who's clearly trying to split the difference with what he says is half of his audience. But I also deserve to feel bad about the things he's flagged. I just do. But I also know Jake is racing a verified screenshot from the world's leader in multiplayer entertainment is legit. Right. Knowing who I was racing, I'll probably put some context on it too. So saying, hey, look, I haven't been sued yet, which frankly, to me, Mark, saying he hasn't been sued yet, that's not a really good argument because the lawyers are going to take time to put together a good.
Yeah,
they work weekends, but they're going to
take their time drafting a letter to him, at the very least. And that's going to be the first shot across the bow, right? If I'm in the terms of the process, wouldn't he be sent some kind of either a cease and desist or and that's the first thing that would happen before any legal action. And then a lawyer's not going to just send a letter off in 5 minutes. They're going to pull the template. They're going to look at the situation. They're going to customize the template. They're going to put in the relevant facts, and then they're going to send that letter over so that it has the biggest impact and the biggest chance to have this person cease and desist.
This is one of the reasons why they probably haven't done anything yet is because there's an NDA. They've all got to meet all those parties to the NDA, Twitch and Dr. Disrespect's lawyers. They've got to get together and they've got to powwow and come up and agree and say, okay, well, us and we all agree here that this is the way we're going to go about this, because the NDA is clearly with Twitch as well, right? So they've got to meet with them, they've got to agree, and then they've got to say, okay, now this is the employee. What do we say to this? Who's the party with privity, right? Privity of contract means the party that should be obligated to send the cease and desist. Will it come from Dr. Disrespect's lawyers or should it come from Twitch? Right? What's the status of the NDA between Twitch and that employee? There's a lot of things going on. Now, that employee, just to be very clear, it can not only, if he's lying and wrong, could be guilty of defamation, but he could be liable civilly for something called tortious interference with contract. Right. So he knows there's a contract between Dr. Disrespect and Midnight Society. And now that there are damages, they're terminating this relationship. So Dr. Disrespect now has damages. You've got a good tortious interference claim against Cody, right, for stepping into this, knowing that relationship exists, knowing that the history of Dr. Disrespect in the situation, and doing this intentionally. And this is what Matthew Azalea said in his $10 Canadian. So does this open up Cody to be liable by Doc? No proof. And if it goes to court, Doc unlikely has proof anytime anymore due to time. Twitch hard to bring in an old system that seems defunct, data left. Well, listen, if this is something that they've got no proof on, then yeah, it's going to look pretty defamatory, right? Because this is pretty saying you're minor. Yeah, that's pretty on the face. That's pretty on the face defamatory, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The court's going to look at that and say, yeah, no, that's pretty bad. Cody said those 3 tweets warrant admonishment, maybe more than 3. The stands try to dig stuff up have been so overwhelming that I presume they missed something. I apologize for it all because it's worth to apologize for. The subtext of the bit, again, shameworthy, is that you're the last person to not know. The information had been so normalized, declawed in the circles I ran in, that it could be reduced to allusion and entendre. For everyone who has since said that, I agree with you on Friday night before you wrote it. I should have agreed with you sooner. I cannot take it back, but I can stop it. I never said I'm a perfect person. I just hope this class grades on a curve.
But it's very cryptic, isn't it?
Yes. And he probably knows. Like at this point, he's probably like, shit, okay, I've got to be very careful about what I say here. I've got to be very cryptic, because there's legal consequences. I'm sure that he's gotten that memo. That he's gotten that. Hey, you might
he's in the most legal trouble out of anybody here, right?
Yes,
in terms of exposure to liability.
Mm-hmm. Almost no matter what, he's either he's violating an NDA, right, or he's committing defamation and tortious interference with a contract. So Cody is in the worst position, and there will be something that happens. It's just a matter of time on what happens with this guy. Right. So there's something's going to get the trigger pulled. It's just a matter of what and when. Right. And it may not happen within 24 hours of now, but it's coming. There's something coming for this guy. He is not going to get off scot-free.